And hello, hello, hello. Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to our show. Hey. I was at the grocery store earlier today. There is a lot of talk about weather here in our area. And so I went to the grocery store and I was picking up some stuff, getting ready to pick some stuff up for my mother in law. And as I walked through, there's a lot of stuff that's missing off the shelves: water, eggs, cheese, milk. And I found myself walking down that aisle, right? The aisle that we talk about. Actually, several aisles. As I said, the aisle, but there are actually several aisles. And one of the aisles is what? That's right. That's the candy, cookies, and all that stuff. And as I was walking through, it occurred to me that a lot of the things that happen during my fast are things that I find myself being, well, let me say that a lot of things I think about are down that aisle. That's the snack aisle. And we spend a lot of time in snacking. So I thought we'd talk a little bit about snacking as we go through our talk tonight. Hey, if you're new to me, I'm Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And yeah, the new us is powering our limitless living. If you're new, go ahead and put new in the comments, because we'd love to welcome you with a hand clap and say that we're glad that you're in this space. If you do have questions as we go throughout the, if you have questions as we go throughout the show tonight, go ahead and drop those in the comments so that we can get to those. Put a new in front of it so that we'll know that that's a question that we want to get to. Whatever platform you're joining us from, we are glad that you're here. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being in this space. Whether you are on Instagram or, well, Instagram, I said that, but I didn't hit my button. If you are on Instagram or Twitch or LinkedIn or Facebook, and of course here on YouTube, welcome to the space. I do see some of our community members out there, and we'll say hi to you in just a minute. But I'm just excited to be here. I'm excited to be back in the saddle. We took a break for a couple of weeks over the holidays, and now are just excited to be back in this new season and be back to the things that we have been talking about as we move beyond the space right now, move beyond the space of what we were doing and expand. Right, so we did our show on this past Monday, Dwain Woode MD Live, and that's what we talked about: expanding our ideas, expanding our thoughts, and expanding our beliefs beyond the limits that are there, so that we can set ourselves up for success. Okay, all right. So let's go ahead and let's say hi to some of our community members. And I see we see Steve out there. Hey, Steve. Let me actually change to this one. So Steve, hey Steve, how are you doing? Steve is saying hello. Pamela's saying hello. Gian is saying hi, Steve, and hi, Pamela. Hi, Doctor. Hey, Gian, how are you? What time is it, by the way, where you are? Gian is saying, Pamela is saying hi to Steve and Gian. She says, I'm eating my lunch. So it's lunchtime. And so I'm eating rice and meat. So she's just putting in there what she's having. And cheesecake. Oh, cheesecake. Okay. See, you got me there. That's the one. I'm a cake person. So so glad that you guys are out there. And so those of you who are out there, you may see, let me see, who do I have? So Gian and Pamela, you'll see a star next to their names. That means that they are part of our membership group here on the channel, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. So as we do, there are some things that I want to that we're going to take a look at. I've got my monitor, which is off to my side here. so that you can see what's been going on with my blood sugars. And I am just now, let's see, 22 hours into this week's fast. All right, so 22 hours into this week's fast. And so we'll take a look at those blood sugars and see where we are. I've got my monitor. I've got my ketone monitor as well that we'll look at here. And let me grab, here we go. Is that the right one? I think it is the right one. That's okay. Let's make a couple of changes. Here we are. And we'll take a look at that here in just a while, so that we can see what's been happening with my blood sugars. Let me just move this down. So there we are. Okay. All right. But you see that there. I've got my monitors off to the side. Down below, you're supposed to be seeing my. There you go. That's my report. That's my Dexcom Clarity report that you see down below me there. Okay, but we'll come back to see those in just a minute. What I do want to do is I want to go ahead and do a check-in. And as you know, whenever we do our fast, we come and we do a check-in just so that we know where we are, how we're feeling, what's been going on in our thoughts. And you will recall that there are essentially three areas that we talk about when we talk about our check-in. How are we doing physically, how are we doing mentally, and how we're doing emotionally. Now, I'll say physically, I am getting over being sick, and I was sick over the holidays, and still having some residual from that, coughing and runny nose and those types of things. But in terms of fasting, one of the places where people will often have issues is feeling like they are, like they're drained, that they don't have a lot of energy as they move through the fast. And I am not feeling that this week. I'm not feeling that today. And as I said, I am just 22 hours into this week's fast. We're heading to 72 hours. So we've got a little ways to go, but so far, not a big issue. Mentally, it has been a little challenging because, like I said, I was sick over the holidays. As a matter of fact, a couple of days before Christmas, became ill, and my sisters were coming to visit me, and had to kind of deal with that. They were in the air, came down. We didn't get to spend the kind of time together as we thought we would. And so anyway, so all those mental issues as from being sick and recovering from that. And then over the course of the couple of weeks, because of being sick and not having a lot of energy and eating different things as was available, yay, there was a lot of stuff available. So mentally, I had to kind of reset. Okay, mentally, I kind of had to reset, and then of course with my that all plays into the emotions. Okay. Remember, fasting is not just not eating. It entails a lot of mental, physical, and emotional components. And if we're not careful, and we'll talk more about this as we get into as we do our check-in later this week, as we do our review of fasting, we will talk more about what the preparation is and how that needs to go. Okay, so physically, mentally, and emotionally. So let's go ahead and let's hop over and let's take a look at my my monitors. And like I said, I've got those over here to the side. This is my Keto Mojo, and this is my Contour, Keto Mojo and Contour. So let's go ahead and get some strips. You'll see on the screen, that is what my Libre meter is saying. My Libre continuous monitor is saying right now. It's saying that my blood sugar is 87. And if you look through if you look through the last 12 hours, which is what you're seeing down there below, you'll see that my blood sugars have been below 150, at least for the last 12 hours. We'll take a look at here in a minute. We'll take a look at my Dexcom, and so we can see a little bit more than that, because the Dexcom will show me a 24-hour period. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at that. So right now, my blood sugar, according to Dexcom, is 110, and you'll see that for the last 12 hours, as I said, it's been 150 or less. Earlier on, like this morning, right around there, we peaked up to about 150, 160. Coming from 3 o'clock in the morning, I was like 140. And last night, 12 a.m., so I was 124, moved up to 160, back down around 350 to 140, up this morning, and then now for the last 12 hours kind of going down. Okay, so that's what's been going on over the last 12 hours. And so let's go ahead and take a look at what my monitors, these guys are saying. So once again, this is my Keto Mojo, this is my Contour. Let's go ahead and get a strip into the Contour meter. And we'll open up the Keto Mojo. So this is the glucose strip for the Keto Mojo, and then the blue one that you'll see there is the that's the ketone strip. Okay, so and I'll go ahead and open that one as well, because I don't want to have to poke myself a second time. Okay, so go ahead and do that, and into my handy dandy container here that has my Lancets. Let's go ahead and pull that out. And let's go ahead and get some blood. So this is a screw top. Basically, you screw that off, and just you find a finger and do a little poke, and ow, ow, ow. I don't think I got a good... Okay, I did. Yeah, a good drop of blood. That should be enough. Let's go ahead and get the Keto Mojo started. Okay, there we go. And let's see if we can get more. And go ahead and get the Contour started. So Keto Mojo 98, Contour is in 112. And let's go ahead and get this strip in for the Lancet. For the ketones, and get that started. So what do you think my ketones are going to be, by the way? All right, if you think you know, go ahead and drop those. Go ahead and drop that in the comments. And of course, I'm going to come off of that screen because I don't want you to quite see that yet. All right, here we are. All right. So let's go ahead and while that's running, let's see. I think we see some other comments. Let's go ahead and pop some of these up. And so Gian, we talked about that, and Gian is saying she's eating rice and meat and cheese, and she says that it's 1 p.m. here. East Coaster, hello. He says hello, folks. Or she says hello, folks. Thank you for coming through. Gian says I'm saying hello. Gian, she said I love rice but can't have it. Makes my glucose shoot up. Yes, it does. Same thing here, Steve. Gianna says yes. Hey, Autumn, how are you? Autumn Joy is here in the house. Hi, everybody. Good to see you all. Autumn says, I am on my second day of fasting. I'm going to star that. Thanks, Dr. Woode. Your videos have motivated me. Awesome. Love that. Love that. And Autumn, I'm keeping that comment starred because I want to come back and talk about a few things. And I'm going to go back and find where is Steve's comment about the rice. Okay, here it is. I'm going to star that as well. So Steve, so you guys, if I'm starring these, remind me if I kind of get off, but I want to make sure that I comment about some things. Pamela saying hello. Giona saying hi to Autumn. Gian says, Doctor, I'm sorry you were sick. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. Autumn says, unfortunately, I just found out today I have COVID. Don't really feel too bad, just a little wheezy at times. So Autumn, you keep putting these good comments in. I'm starring that as well because there's something we want to talk about there. Pamela says, hope you feel better. Definitely. Hi, Gian and Pamela. I hope you get better soon. Autumn, how long is your fast for? Okay, well, how long is the fast going to be? And then Steve is saying that he thinks my ketones are going to be 1.6. East Coaster says, Doc, have you ever done a video on the grocery items you buy to keep your blood? See, Autumn, you're or East Coaster, you're just jumping into. I've got some video that I shot tonight. I wasn't going to show it, but I may end up doing that. Autumn Joy says, I have been fasting since Monday evening, right? I think because when you were on the show, you commented about that you were getting ready to do a fast. Other than some COVID symptoms, I gained weight over the holidays due to frequent binging. And Gion, let me put that up here. Gion says, Doctor, could you teach me again how about ketones? Okay, so we got that one. I've already lost 7.5 pounds in the past 2 days, Autumn says. And Autumn says that she thinks that my ketones are going to be 1.7. Okay, so let's do this. I've got a couple of questions that I want to ask as we get in or have a conversation, have some questions, and as we get into the new season. So the first thing is that, and you'll see the title, right? And it says fasting again, and there should be an exclamation question mark and an exclamation mark at the end there, because when I talk about fasting, and I'm sure when you've talked about fasting as well, there are people whose eyes kind of get big, right? Like they're bogging out, because the concept of fasting has is sometimes not foreign to people, but they find themselves saying to immediately once they hear that, I can't do that, right? So there's automatically this block that kind of goes up that says, I can't do that. And what is the benefit of fasting? So let's start there, and then we'll go through some other things. So fasting, one of the reasons that we fast, and if you're new to us, this is the crux of the matter. Here on the channel, we are talking about how to reverse our diabetes. We're talking about how to improve our metabolic health, how to get off of diabetes medications, how to improve our weight, how to lower our blood sugar, blood pressure, right? So all those things that are associated with metabolic syndrome is what we're doing. But you'll hear me say over and over that we are talking to adults with type 2 diabetes who want to reverse their diabetes. Now, when some people hear that, they think that this content is not for them. But that is not the case, because remember that diabetes is the prototypic, meaning it is an example of lots of other metabolic diseases. So if we can find something that manages diabetes and helps to reverse diabetes, then those same things can work for other disease processes, okay? So we are in the process of finding the things that are going to set us up for metabolic success. As a part of that metabolic success, we're talking about reversing diabetes. Okay, but you can hang so many other pieces on that same tree. It's kind of like a Christmas tree that has all the ornaments. And so metabolic disease, we have diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, fatty liver, polycystic ovarian syndrome, coronary artery disease, peripheral vascular disease, and we can go on and on, obesity even, okay? So all of those are hung on the tree. So anything that we do that treats the tree, treats the metabolic syndrome, will treat all of those and give benefit. So one of the tools that we've learned is the tool of fasting, because fasting does a lot of different things in the metabolic space. Number one, fasting improves insulin resistance. Diabetes is not a blood sugar problem. The blood sugar is actually a consequence of the underlying problem, which is this idea of insulin resistance or hyperinsulinemia, if you will. And so because we fast, the body becomes better able to use the insulin that it makes. Often I get people who ask me a question. They say, if my body's making insulin, why am I either taking insulin from outside, I'm taking a shot, or I'm taking medications that are forcing my body to make insulin? And the answer to that question is, for some reason, the insulin that your body is making is not effective to lower the blood sugar. Either your body is not making enough for what it requires, or something is inhibiting the insulin from working, or we're asking the body to do too much. So if we can find something to make the insulin we're already making more effective, then that improves blood sugars, and ultimately all of those downstream disease processes that we just talked about. So fasting improves insulin resistance. It makes your body better able to use the insulin that it has. Fasting helps your body utilize the energy source that it has that's stored. What's that called? It's called fat. Right? That is a huge source of stored energy. And during the process of fasting, the body now has to go and tap into that. And once it begins tapping into that, then we have so many amazing benefits that come, right? The first one that we talk about is this idea of ketones, right? Going into ketogenesis. So the body now takes the sugar, it takes the fat, it breaks it down, and it creates ketones. And those ketones, because it's taking the fat and breaking it down, we get weight loss. Because now it's generating ketones from that fat, then we get the benefits that come from ketones. So appetite suppression. We get mental clarity. We get the body now going into this thing called autophagy, where the body is repairing itself. All of that comes from fasting. So in this space, we are working on how do we reverse diabetes. And now we're using the tools to reverse diabetes. And as a part of that, we want to know, how do we fast successfully? Okay? So that brings you up to where we are right now. How do we fast successfully? How do we get into that space so that we can be metabolically flexible, right? That's the phrase that you hear me talk about, metabolically flexible. Okay. And so in fasting, blood pressure, cholesterol, all those things improve. But how do we do it? What are the ways to do it? And that's what we do in this space. How do we fast successfully? How do we prepare for a fast? How do we get through a fast? And then, of course, how do we break the fast so that we can maintain the benefits that come from fasting? And so as we go through this season, those are the things that you're going to hear me talk about in this space. How are we becoming successful? You'll hear me talk about a lot of tools. One of the tools, and let me a little plug right here, one of the tools is the different procedures, the different protocols, the different challenges that we have, right? So every month we have a challenge that we do go through, and your goal is to be able to take those challenges and run with them, because that's where you are learning how to implement the things that we are talking about. Right now we have 100-day challenge that's going on. Well, it's not really a challenge, it's a 100-day protocol. It's called My 100-Day Walk to Consistency and Health. So we are on day number 8, right? So 6 o'clock in the morning, right? If you get up, Well, not if you get up 6 o'clock in the morning, you get on the channel and you'll see me walking and talking, right? If you can't catch us at 6 o'clock because of time or whatever, you can look at that later. You can do the replay, right? You put it on and you get in the gym or you walk. Some people say that they're going to be rowing instead of walking. That's fine. If you're going to be doing yoga, if you're going to be doing weightlifting, whatever it is, as long as you're doing something to improve your metabolism. Okay? All right. So let's go ahead. What I want to do is I want to get back to some of these comments. And by the way, one of the things I would love to hear, and I said I had a couple of questions. So question number one, I would love for you in the chat to go ahead and drop some of the topics that you think you would like us to discuss as we get into the season. We've got a list of topics that we're going to be discussing as we do these fasts and as we do these check-ins. But I want to hear from you. What are some things that you would like us to kind of address and kind of go through? Okay. All right, so I want to go back, and there were a couple of comments and thoughts that I starred. So let me start. Let me start with this one. So this is a comment from Gion. Gion said, "I love rice." Well, Gion says, "I love." She's eating rice, and Steve. Let me change back to this one. And Steve says that he loves rice. But he can't have it because it makes his blood sugar, let me bring this down a little bit, it makes his glucose shoot up. And the reason I started that comment, the reason I wanted to address it, is because Steve understands how his body responds to rice. And part of the process of becoming metabolically healthy is understanding that there are certain foods that respond or produce a result in our bodies, our personal bodies, that doesn't produce that same response in somebody else. Does that make sense? So just because a particular food is going to cause my blood sugar to spike up doesn't mean that it's going to cause Steve's blood sugar to spike up. And part of the beauty of what we do is, and part of this idea of balanced bites, which we'll talk about as we go through the season, is finding those things that you are able to eat and to use that don't cause the same kind of result in your body as it does in someone else's. I have a guy that we used to take care of that eats ice cream, and his blood sugars don't change much. I mean, they may go up 10, 15, 20 points. But if he eats carrots, then the blood sugars skyrocket into the 200s or 300s. So that was something he had to learn, that when he eats carrots, he's got to do something differently. He may have to go exercise more or drink more water, or in his case, he was taking medication. But that allows you to understand how your body's working. So I wanted to start that, and thank you for saying that, Steve, that he likes rice, but it causes his blood sugars to shoot up. Now, there are some other things that we will talk about later on how we can mitigate some of that. Okay. Autumn says, and this is a comment, she says, "I'm on my second day of fasting. Thanks, Dr. Woode. Your videos have motivated me." And the reason I start that one, Autumn, so thank you, by the way. Thank you. Educate, empower, encourage, right? So educate, empower, remember that's the triple E formula for success. One of the beauties of what we're doing is that we get to motivate each other. That's part of the community, right? Educate, empower, and encourage. Part of the community, part of being here, part of being in this space is to hear what other people are saying and go what they're going through, so that you can then pick up the things that are beneficial to you. So I'm excited that the videos, that you found the videos to be helpful and motivational. A big part of what we want to do, we educate, we empower, and we encourage. And then encourage comes with motivation as well. So thank you for that. And then Autumn, once again, another comment. She said, unfortunately, I just found out today I have COVID, and I don't feel too bad. The reason I did that was there are changes that go on in our bodies when we get ill, when we become sick. We may see that our blood sugars will spike up higher. And so sometimes people become distressed because they think they're doing something wrong, but you're not doing anything wrong. Is that your body is responding to what's going on at that time. There are some people who when they become ill, they actually have lower blood sugars, right? So you'll have to learn for yourself how your body responds to when it becomes sick, and understanding that helps you to mitigate some of the blood sugar issues that you may run into as you are getting through that. It is important to understand, and we did a show in our last season where we talked about things that affect blood sugar. So diet, activity, medication, obviously, right? Sleep, stress, anxiety, depression, inflammation, pain. And so all of those things will have an effect on blood sugar. And particularly when you're in the fasting space, the other reason that I wanted to comment about that was there are times when we are in the fasting space and we become ill, and we have to listen to our bodies to realize, understand, and decide whether we need to continue in the fasting at that time or whether we need to interrupt the fast, get through the illness, and then come back to it. Okay? Because remember, your body, your brain, your mind is going to remember what this process is like, this experience. And so if we're not listening to our bodies, when we can run into issues where we don't have a good experience, and then in our heads, we're like, well, we're not going to go through that again because that didn't quite work. Okay? So make sure that you're listening to your body when you become ill. During the fast, I mean, in general, we're looking at blood sugars, but during the fast, definitely, because it will have an effect on how things go. All right, and then East Coaster says, Doc, have you done a video? I have not done a video on going out shopping, but East Coaster, let's see. How can I do this? So we were at the grocery store today, and you guys are going to see me. Let me do it this way. What I want to do is show you some video. Well, let's just do this. It's not going to be a full screen video, but that's okay. All right, so let's do this one. Let's see, does that? Here we go. So I'm going down the aisle. And as I'm moving through the various aisles, it occurs to me that a huge portion of the grocery store is stocked with what? Snacks. And so to your question, East Coaster, yes, we will do a show where we actually walk through and do a shopping episode. Well, two. One, you're saying there how to keep your blood sugar under control, but specifically also what do we need to do? What are some things that we can pick up during, to prepare for the fast and also to get us through the fast? Things like teas and so forth. Okay, so yes, good question. We've not done an episode, but we will plan to do an episode for that. And so this was my just before I came in and got on this stream. This is where I was, right? Seeing all the people out there we're getting ready for the weather that they say is coming through. All right. What else? What else? Gion says, I have been fasting. Okay, so Autumn says she's been fasting since Monday evening, feeling great other than some of the COVID symptoms. And so, Autumn, tell us if you don't mind, if you just drop in the comment, you drop a line and say, tell us how you prepared for the fast. What did you eat leading up to the fast? Okay. And then Gian is saying, can you teach about ketones again? And we'll do that here in a minute when we look at my ketones. Gian, we'll come back to that. So I still have that one starred. And Autumn says, I've already lost 7.4 pounds. So for you who are out there, when you're fasting, if you're doing these extended fasts, you will probably end up losing somewhere between 0.6 to 1.2 pounds per day. 0.6 to 1.2 pounds per day. If you remain hydrated, you will find that you can actually get probably about 1.5 to 1.6 pounds for each day that you fast. Yeah, it's a pretty good. It is a pretty good drop. Now, a lot of the weight that we lose in those initial hours, initial day, first 24 hours or so, is water weight. But if we're doing those extended fasts, that's the rate at which you probably will end up losing weight. So thank you for sharing that, Autumn. Let's see. Autumn talked about how. Or Gian talked about holiday binging. And hey, we've got Soul Hosting. Thank you for coming through and hanging out with us. Gian is saying hello. Insulin, doctor says insulin is the key point for a lot of disease. It is. And I'm going to do something here really quickly. Let's see. For those of you who are out there, let's record it. I'm going to go ahead and, because what I want to do is I want to have you guys join this stream. Copy link. Okay, so if you're out there, I'm gonna go ahead and put a link in the members area. So if you want to hop into the Zoom, click that link, hop into Zoom, and we're gonna talk a little bit right after we get off air here, and we can actually have another conversation. So let me do that. Let me do that really quickly here. Just a second. All right, so here it is. Let's say create a post. There it is. All right, so you should see that coming up for all of our members. You can just click that, and it'll pop you in. Okay, all right. There we go. So let's get back here. All right. So, Doctor, insulin is the key point for lots of disease. Yes. So insulin is a key to a lot of metabolic disease. And so, because we are fasting, the fasting makes us insulin sensitive, which is what we want. And that insulin sensitivity allows us to hit a lot of those metabolic diseases that we talk about. Okay, so if we could deal with that, if we can deal with insulin, then a lot of our chronic metabolic diseases, but the metabolic illnesses will improve. Okay. Autumn says, I haven't checked my ketones, but in the past it has taken multiple days to show increased ketones because of my insulin resistance. So very good point that you're making there, Autumn, that insulin resistance, because your body has to process the carbohydrates and your insulin levels are elevated, then the elevated insulin will minimize ketones. Remember, ketones and insulin can't exist together. And so if your insulin is high, then it's more difficult to get ketones. And so you're correct that insulin resistance will inhibit or hinder ketosis. Autumn says, I wrote today and started coughing and wheezing, so I'm not sure about continuing now in the next few days. So once again, you have to listen to your body. Okay, you have to listen to your body. Make sure that you are hearing what the body's saying. So we don't want to push it beyond that point so that it breaks, but we want to challenge it just enough so that we are we're making strides. Okay, so if you have asthma, if you have other illnesses at the time, then make sure that you're checking with your family doctor, you're listening to your body. And even if you're walking with us in the morning and you find that, we do about 35 minutes, each of those videos. So if we're walking for that 35 minutes and you can only do 10, that's where you start. Okay, and you kind of work your way up, and we'll make another point there about fasting. Well, let me make it now. So when we're talking about fasting, I encourage everyone that you are working your way up to do some of the more extended fasts. So the first thing that you are going to be doing here, as we move through the space, you're working your way up to being able to fast for a 24-hour period once a week. Okay, that's your first goal. 24-hour period once a week. Once you're able to get there, then we extend beyond that. Okay, so 24-hour period once a week. Steve says, parasites and heavy metal. Huh. Steve, give me a little context for that, please. Parasites and heavy metals. Let me go. See, did I miss a comment from Steve up here somewhere? Yeah, I don't see. So Steve, give me a little context. Give me a little bit more there. Gian says, I want to talk about relation between emotions and eating food this year. Okay, I love that. That's a great one because there is a huge correlation between emotions and eating, right? The pull for the food, the comfort that it gives. There's also a big component of changes in our hormonal levels that come as a result of emotions. And so people think, oh, the emotions are the only component to it, but no, once the emotions come, then the emotions cause hormonal changes, and now the hormones begin to cause us to have cravings and want to do different things, right? So then we're fighting the situation, we're fighting the emotions, we're fighting the food and how it tastes, we're fighting the fact that the hormones have come out. So once that cascade starts, it's huge. It is a, I don't want to say cataclysmic cascade, but it becomes a difficult situation. And so the tools that we're learning, the COPE model, for example, clarify, observe, pause, and execute, is a great way to begin working through some of that. Which is why you always hear me say it's like a roller coaster. Once that roller coaster car gets to the top, it's very difficult to bring it back down. And so our goal is always that we want to begin working on those things before they become the issue that becomes so almost insurmountable. Okay, so make sure that you are make sure that we are dealing with those things before they come to us. So very good, Gian, and we do have that on the books. She said, and discuss about overcoming food addiction. Oh, wow, 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 wow. You're coming right down the alley. So there are a lot of food recovery programs. And I am quick to say that there are some of us that need to be in recovery programs. I'm raising my hand. Okay, and you may have heard of my history with food, and that was a big component of my not was that is a big component of my my success, if you will, with food. It is still an issue, and so remember, when you're in recovery, it's not like it's done. It is an ongoing issue that you deal with on a daily basis. So when we're talking with you and we're sharing with you from a place of recovery, active recovery. Okay, so yeah, so food addiction is a huge issue for a lot of us. Autumn says, Dr. Woode, where do you place your CGM sensors, and do you have problems with them staying in place? I have my CGM sensors. I have two on right now. So I have one right here, and then the other one is on the other arm, right? And I tend to bring them down. Let's see, is this a better view? Yeah. So I wear mine closer to my elbow as opposed to further up on the back of the arm. And the reason I do that is when I wear them further up, I hit them on doorways, and when I put my seatbelt on, they get hung. And when I'm toweling off, they come off. And when I'm putting a shirt on, it snags. But down at the elbow, it doesn't seem to have the same. I don't seem to have the same problems there. Okay, so that's a good thing. That's a good place for me. So Autumn said that's. The Steve says having a monitor has given me a tool that helps me identify foods that I should eliminate from my diet. So beautiful. Thank you. I'm going to give you a hand clap for that one, Steve. So talking about monitoring. So if we're going to make changes, if we're going to be successful, then we've got to be able to evaluate. We've got to be able to look at. We've got to be able to monitor. And that's why I'm such a big proponent for monitoring, right? So even if you are not diabetic, let me say it again, even if you're not diabetic, then it still makes sense to have a way of monitoring blood sugars and also monitoring ketones, right? Now, for the ketones, a lot of people say, well, and the ketone meters, depending on the one you get, may be a little bit more expensive than just getting a blood sugar monitor. But at least we should have a blood sugar monitor so that we could see what foods, what emotions, what rest, what pain, what all those things do to our blood sugars, and then we can make decisions about how to mitigate that. Okay, so Steve, thank you for saying that, and that wasn't planned. Jennifer, hey Jennifer, how are you? Jennifer, glad that you're here. She said I'm late, in late but here. Yes, in late but here. You are here, so we're glad that you're here. We can take the late part off. Gianna saying hi. Jennifer saying hello. Autumn, hi Jennifer, and back and forth. When I am ill, it makes me eat. I couldn't taste when I'm sick. That's an interesting point. What did they say? Is it starve a cold, feed a fever, or feed a fever, starve a cold? I don't think I've ever, except for maybe once that I can remember, been not able to eat when I was sick. How some people will say, yeah, they can't. Yeah, you're right. So I don't have that problem. I don't have that problem. At this point in time, I am not hungry at all. So Autumn, very good, right? So remember, ketones. Once our bodies begin making ketones, the ketones will help suppress our hunger. And one of the questions I had was, when you got into your fast, how did you do that? What was the preparation that you did? Because when you prepare, if you're doing a good job of getting proteins in and getting fats in, those healthy fats, plus the ketones that then come out, then all three of those will cause your appetite to be suppressed, right? So the fats will slow the GI tract, and the fat will release CCK, cholecystokinin. The proteins will send a signal to the brain that says I'm full. That's and it produces protein YY. The ketones themselves will help to mitigate the hunger hormone. So notice what's going on when we start fasting, right? If we do a good job of preparing, we come in with the protein, we come in with the fat, not with a lot of carbs, because if you come in with a lot of carbs, then your body has to burn those carbs up. And in order to use those carbs up, in order to get the sugar into the cell, it has to use insulin. And insulin, the more insulin you have, the longer you have insulin, the longer it takes for the insulin to go away, the more difficult it is for you to get into ketosis. All right, so remember that as you're preparing for fast. And we'll talk more about that when we do our fasting, check-in on Friday, when we go through, do a complete review of fasting. Jay Jackson, what's up? Thank you for coming through. She said, what kind of physical activities, if any, do you recommend while fasting? Great question. And the physical activity that I recommend, and I'm going to give two answers. If you are doing fasting workouts, and that is a thing. So these are people who are trying to do like bodybuilding. They're trying to bulk up, and there is this thing called fasting workouts. And basically what happens during a fasting workout is, because we're fasting, and during fasting, the body releases growth hormone. And growth hormone is the muscle maintenance hormone. So when we're fasting, growth hormone levels go up. And so that helps to build muscle, bulk up. It makes it easier for that to happen. And exercising muscles like ketones. So we're feeding the muscles with the ketones, and we have the hormone that's there to help bulk us up easier. Okay, so there's this idea of fasting workout. If you're not doing a fasting workout, we recommend a light exercise. So walking, yoga, would be two good ones. If you want to do an elliptical, that would be fine. Rowing, which is not, you're not rowing for like an hour, 2 hours. You're doing light rowing, and you can change the tension on the oars, right? So all of those would be good things to do, because what we want to allow you the possibility of building some muscle, to maintain flexibility, and during the process of exercising, you're also becoming insulin sensitive. Okay, so we want to encourage it, but we recommend light workouts. Artist says, ashamed to say that on Monday I ate mostly junk food, typical binge day for me. And so thank you for sharing that, Autumn. And as we talked about on our show on Monday, and let me reiterate that to you here and to everyone who's listening, our goal is not, right, to spank your hand. Our goal is to help us now develop a process, develop a way of looking at those things that are driving us. When I went to the grocery store today, I was heading to the cash register, right, to pick up the stuff that I went for. And in the basket, there were those Cadbury's. Now, I wasn't hungry. I'm fasting. I wasn't going to eat. I'm not eating it. And I'm planning to eat it. Why was it in the cart? Right? So I had to, at that moment, say, what does limitless living look like now? And what is the point of this stuff? What is driving me at this moment to get this? So the questions that we're asking are those questions relating to what is pushing us, okay? And that is the space that I want us to continually be in. And at some point, the brain is going to click. And the brain is going to say, okay, let me answer that question. And once we begin answering the question, then the benefit comes. Notice the process. It is not fighting the food first. It is understanding the why first. And when we get to the why, then the food issue, not that it goes away, because I'll tell you, right? Remember I said, when you're in recovery, it's not like everything is gone. It's there. It still calls to me. Right? In fact, thinking about fasting, so I started my fast, midnight or so last night, because I was trying to stay up, because I was doing painting in my son's room. I was trying to do some things here in this space. I was frustrated about something, and I ate up until that time, and it had to process. I had to process it first, so that I could say, okay, I am going into my fasting now. But fighting the food was not where I needed to be, and not where you need to be as well. We want to be asking those questions as to why. And I'll pause there. Okay. All right. So Gion says, same here, Autumn. Right. So you're in company. You're in company of people who understand. Well, one of the benefits, and if you've not already done so, hop over. The link for the Zoom is in the member section for you to pop in. One of the benefits of community is that when you say something in a community of like-minded people, you don't have to explain. All right, so Autumn, like when you say, okay, I binged on Monday, that you didn't have to explain what that meant. You didn't have to explain why you binged. Right, simply saying that in the space, people understand. Or people hear what you're saying. Okay. Autumn says, I know that eating junk food is not the optimal way to go into a fast, but that is what I did. And it is what you do. It is what we do. Okay. Jennifer says, remember to hit the like button. Yes, helps the algorithm. Thank you, Jennifer, for saying that. Steve, a subject to overcome this year. Okay. So Steve is saying, okay, I think I'm going, let me get back up there. Heavy metals, and there was something else you had in that comment, Steve. Okay, so I'll make a note. I'll make a note of that. Okay. So Steve, a subject for, okay. Autumn says, I row for 1 to 2 hours a day, divided into 2 sessions. I'm sure the coughing and wheezing is because of the COVID. That's actually what led me to do a COVID test. Okay, I usually tolerate rowing. Okay, all right. So yeah, so during illness. Okay, thank you for adding that context. Autumn, you row at a gym. Gion is asking. No, I row at home. I have a Concept 2 Model E. Highly recommended if you recommend it for good non-weight bearing workouts. Okay, good. Thank you. I also have a treadmill, Stairmaster, So Autumn, you've got a gym. So we can do we'd do a Dwain Woode MD gym membership over at Autumn's. I said Gianna says, "Wow, yes, wow." Kirk Nugent, my man, is here in the house, y'all. This is my guy. This is my guy. This is my guy. So yeah, so thank you for coming through and hanging out with us. Kirk says he's switching to YouTube. Switching to YouTube. Oh wow. Yeah. So if you guys have not been over to Kirk's channel, amazing stuff that he's doing over there. He's been a guest on our channel. I've been a guest on his. Hoping to have him come through again, because some of the things that we're talking about in Limitless Living, there are some concepts that he talks about that I think would be great for this community. So keep an eye out or ear out for me, guy. So Jennifer says, if I wear a CGM on my right arm, I lose it within days. Catch it on things, blah blah blah. So out of the foot sock and use the beard around my arm to protect it. I have several colors. Okay, yeah. So you can get some of those, as Jennifer's talking about, some of the wraps that you can use. You can buy those on Amazon, and you can put those to help protect. Autumn says, thanks for that. Jennifer, very good tip. Awesome. Today I lowered the tension on my row and ended up rowing 16 miles. Okay, spread it over 3 sessions. My goodness. So Autumn, yeah, I love that. I love that. Steve, I put a clear patch over my sensor to keep it from... Yes, definitely. Definitely. So there are lots of those devices that you can get, and they're relatively inexpensive. As I said, I want to encourage everyone, if you are not monitoring in some form or fashion, that you start doing that, even if it's just getting, I should say even if, but getting a glucose meter at your local pharmacy. You don't actually need a prescription to get it. You can get those. The over-the-counter continuous monitor that's out there, 2 now. One is by Abbott, and I'm blanking on the name of it right now. And then the other one is by Dexcom, called the Stello. Okay. And Oakland University Church say, "Hey Doc," thank you. No, I'm thinking that is Kirk. If it's not, it's probably someone else. So these are some people that I work with here locally, y'all. Says set looks great. What are you using for audio? So I am using right now a Sennheiser MKE 600. That's right above me. Right about, a little bit higher than that. MKE 600. I've got a Shure over here, and I think I've mentioned to some people that I like how this looks and sounds. I talk with my hands, and when I have the mic, I bump into it, and you hear all kinds of sounds. So, Kirk saying, "Hey Doc." Jennifer says, "Hello, Kirk." Kirk says, "Studio looks great. What are you using?" Okay, I think that's him asking that same question. Hello, Jennifer. Says he's still here. Jiyon says hi to Kirk. And Jiyon, I think you said it was 1 o'clock where you are in Korea. Yep. And Pamela says, mine is on my stomach with clear patch and 2 Band-Aids made for, monitor. It usually stays on for 7 days. I love it. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And once again, there's this thing called skin tack. So for those of you who are putting on sensors and the sensors may be falling off, so skin tack is a kind of a sticky substance. It's almost like extra glue. And what you do is you put that on the area prior to putting the sensor on. And so there's this extra layer of stickiness, if you will, or glue, skin tack. And so that helps it stay on longer or stay on better. I have several people who are like firefighters or police officers and or in the military, and so as you know, they have the gear on, and so they sweat a lot, and so the skin tack helps with that. The other thing that you can do is Nasocort, Nasonex. It's a nose spray. You can get it over the counter. And what I tell people who are particularly oily, their skin is oily, is you spray some of that on. It has steroids in it. Spray some of that on, and it helps to decrease the oil in the skin over that area. Let it dry, and then you put the CGM on it. Okay, that will help you stay in. East Coaster said, "Do you have a preference between Libre and Dexcom?" Oh, you're trying to get me in some trouble. You're trying to get me in some trouble here. So I like them both, which is why I use both. Okay, I have both of them. The Libre traditionally had longer times because it was 14 days. Now it's actually 15 days. The Libre 3 Plus. The Dexcom, one of the drawbacks before was that it was 10 days. The Stello, which is the over-the-counter one, is 15 days. And I like them both. If you have a prescription, you'll get 2 of the Libres because it's 14 days, so 28 days. If you have the Dexcom, you'll get 3, so 30 days. So I like them both, and I'm trying to think if there is a reason other than cost or coverage by insurance to go with one over the other. The other reason one over the other is that the Dexcom is paired with a lot of insulin pumps. So more than, I think the Libre is now becoming more available in different configurations. So I don't necessarily have a preference. I typically use the one for the patient that the insurance will pay for. And if it's something that someone is paying out of pocket, they will often say, hey, I don't want to change 3 times. So they'll do the Libre, which requires you to change twice. The other thing that I've run into is that depending on when your phone was updated, if you get a new phone, sometimes one of the companies is not as up to date at getting their software paired with the new operating system. Okay? And so that may cause a little issue for us as well. Okay. Kirk says, sounds phenomenal. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. You said I'm going to have to get that. Yeah, I love it. I love it. And Gion says it's 2 p.m. now over in Korea. Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. All right, so let me do this. Let's go ahead, and you will remember that we checked our blood sugars, and I had a couple of guesses there. I think somebody says 1.6 for my ketone. Somebody else says that they thought it was going to be 1.7. And let's go ahead and let's take a look at that right now. So let me get my app opened up. And let's get over to that scene. Let's do this one. Okay, so you'll see there, that's the Keto Mojo app. And here's my meter. Okay, actually, let me do this one first. Let's start here. All right, so that is the Keto Mojo meter. So it's on, and then let's go ahead and sync the app so that it pulls that data over. And drum roll, please. What do you think it's going to be? So I had a 1.6. I had a 1.7 guess. And let's go ahead and I'm going to do 2 things at one time. I'm going to show it to you, and I'm going to change my scene at the same time. So let's see. Let's do this one. Change my scene. There. And boom. So 98 was my blood sugar. And ketones are 0.5. So to answer Gion's question, remember ketones that are less than 0.5 are considered normal. 0.5 to 1.5 are considered nutritional ketosis, and above 1.5 considered therapeutic ketosis. So that's the range. And so when we talk about the metabolic space, when we talk about having the body become more insulin sensitive, losing weight, and all the things that are downstream from that. Remember, the longer you are fasting, the more of ketosis you get into, and so forth, right? So we want you to be at 0.5 or higher. There are benefits to being lower. As long as you're fasting, you're still getting insulin resistance. But if we want to get the weight loss, we want to get the insulin sensitivity, we want to go into autophagy, all those downstream things, we want ketones of 0.5 or more. And so that's where we want you to be. If we look at my graph, and let's see, there you go. So two graphs that you see on the screen. There's the turquoise one, which is the ketones, and then the tan line, that's the actual blood sugar. So as the blood sugar has gone up, that's the tan line, you saw that the ketones came down. And remember, ketones and insulin can't be in the same space. It's kind of like matter and antimatter in those sci-fi movies, or when you go back in time, they tell you don't interact with yourself, right? Same thing. So ketones and insulin can't be in the same space. So that if you are eating, well, let me back up, let me say it a little differently. If your blood sugar is high, insulin has to come out to deal with the blood sugar, to bring the blood sugar down. And when that happens, the insulin mitigates, or it inhibits, if you will, the ketones from forming. So if you come into fasting having just eaten a lot of highly processed, high carb, sugary foods, your body has to deal with all of the sugar that comes from that. And the way it deals with the sugar is it causes the insulin level to go up. Well, if the insulin level is going up, then you can't get into ketosis until the insulin level comes down, which is why for some people, they're fasting, right? They're getting into a fast, and they may be doing, 24, 36, 48-hour fast, but it takes them an entire day for the body to kind of re-regulate itself. And so they really don't get the full benefit of the fasting. Which is why when we're preparing for the fast, we say, hey, the way you prepare for the fast has a significant impact on the fast itself, the success of the fast, and how you break the fast also has implications on the fast itself. Okay? So you want to make sure that you are doing all those things that are setting you up for success. So that's our ketones. We want you to be 0.5 or higher as we move into that metabolic space and into setting ourselves up for success there. Awesome. All right. So a couple of things that I want to say, want to remind you of. First of all, remember our goal is tied to our formula. And our formula is the Triple E formula for success. Right? We educate, we empower, and we encourage. We educate with these shows. We educate with the blog. We educate with the podcast. All of that is with the idea of creating a change in your mindset. If we're going to be successful, the first place that we want to get to is we want to begin changing the way we're looking at things. There are so many things that are in our thoughts, so many things that are in our history, so many habits that we've formed, that it's just almost rote, that we don't even process that anymore. Something happens, you get upset, and immediately the chocolate is in your hand. Maybe that's just me. Okay? But you get the idea. And because of that, we've got to begin working through some of those. And that's the whole idea behind limitless living. Limitless living says there's nothing inside of me, there's nothing outside of me that's going to prevent me from doing what I need to do to be successful in my space. All right? That's what I got back here. It says breaking free from boundaries and pursuing my best self, my best health, and my best life goals. That's the idea behind limitless living. And so all the things that are that we're going to be talking about is with the idea that we want to set ourselves up for the best possibility of being successful. Some of the things that we're going to look at, yeah. So once again, you hear me say, if you can't cook, then we got to figure out how to get you some food that's healthy. We got to teach you how to cook. If you don't know how to shop, and I'm glad that that someone asked about shopping, then we've got to say, okay, what do we need to be looking at when we go to the grocery store? If you have trouble interacting with people in terms of allowing them to come inside of your personal boundaries, and you get upset, and every time that happens, you find yourself sitting on the couch eating a gallon of ice cream, then we've got to figure out how to deal with people. So Limitless Living says that there's nothing that we're going to allow to hinder us from being in that space. We're going to learn how to fast. So we educate, we empower, and we empower with the tools that we learn, right? The 100-day walking that we're doing, right? That's an amazing tool. The fasting is a tool. Balanced bites is a tool. Those things that we use to fuel our bodies. All of these are tools that we have to begin working on and practicing and using over and over so that they become a natural part of what we do as we're moving through our lives. Because if we don't do that, if you're trying to not eat that ice cream at the moment when you're frustrated and when you're mad, and that's the first time that you're trying to deal with it, guess what? You're going to eat the ice cream. It's going to happen. And then you're going to be frustrated. You're going to be upset. You're going to feel down. And guess how we deal with those emotions? We eat more ice cream. So the tools that you're using, the tools that we're learning are tools that we have to practice over and over. And then we encourage, we educate, we empower, we encourage. And encouragement comes from this community that you are part of, this amazing community. I love how you guys are interacting. I love the fact that we are able to support each other. Remember that our community meetup is coming up on the fourth Thursday of the month. Every fourth Thursday we meet at 7 p.m. Central. If you've not done so yet, you get into that community by becoming a member on the channel, and you'll see some folks that are out there. You see those stars that they have next to their names. These are our members who are part of our group, part of our channel, and you can begin meeting. And we do an amazing discussion in the group. We actually do coaching in the group. We get to go around and say where people are, get to share their successes, and we get to encourage each other as we are moving through this space together, right? So make sure that you get in there and become a part of us. And then you've heard me tell the story. I was in the car with my son, and he was doing one of his devotions. And we were talking about worry. And I kind of asked him, I said, hey, are there things that you worry about? And he said, yeah. And so he mentioned a few things. And I said to him, I said, well, how many of the things that you worry about, that we worry about, do you think actually come true? And he said he didn't know. And so we started looking it up. And it's amazing what's out there. But the number that kept bubbling up is this idea of 91.4. 91.4% of the things that we worry about. 91.4% of the things that we stress about. 91.4% of the things that we are anxious about. The things that push our buttons, that cause us to buffer, to eat emotionally. 91.4% of those things never come true. And of the things that come true, a major component, so we're talking about 7.6% are things that actually happen. And of those things that actually happen, a majority of them are things that are not as difficult or as bad as we thought they were going to be, or things that we can manage. 91.4. 91.4% of the things that take our energy, that take our time, never happen. And think about the times when you are sitting in your car on the way home, eating, buffering because of the 91.4. And so our goal is to begin practicing and using the COPE model: clarify, observe, pause, and execute, so that we can deal with those 91.4% of the things that are in our minds, that are in our heads, that are pushing those buttons, that are causing us to go down a road that we don't want to go. And as we move through this year, as we move through this season, I'm excited for our limitless living. That's our theme for the year, right? So nothing inside of me, nothing outside of me is going to prevent me from doing what I need to do to be healthy in this year. It's powered not by the year. Last year we talked about new year, new you, and everybody got tied up on the new year. But I want you to know it's the new you that powers limitless living. It's the you that you brought into this year. It's not the year. The year changes. Every year is going to change, but the you that continues to go from one year to the next is the you that we're working on to grow and to make you better in this metabolic space. So thank you all for hanging out with me. Let me see, I think I see some comments. Let me catch some of these as we head out. Kirk said, that's a word. That's a word. Gion says, wow, doctor, I didn't know that eating affects later fasting. Yes. What you eat as you prepare for the fast will affect what goes on in the fast itself. So could you note eating before fasting affecting fasting? Can't achieve ketones? Yes. So if you're coming into fasting with high blood sugars, then it takes you longer for you to get into ketosis. Okay. It is right time. It's the right time, doctor. Walking. Yes. Kirk says that was good, doc. Thank you, man. Thank you. Appreciate that. Jennifer says good night, all. Yes. Getting late. Take care. And Gian says thank you for today, doctor. I do want to encourage you, and I put I put the show notes from Monday in the group, so make sure you download that. There are some questions at the bottom that you can begin walking through as we move into the space. So thanks, Dr. Woode. Good night, everybody. All right. And as you always hear me say, I'm happy to be in this space. Always glad to be in this space with you. And this is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Woode with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And in this year, we're powering our year with the new version of us, and we're living limitless lives. Good night, everybody. We'll see you at our next show.